already have a 3. Hello, hello. I can hear you loud and clear. Am I up for a new mission? Well, after almost breaking my legs last time, of course I am. Roaring for one. I've just been waiting for your call. So, where are you sending me this time? The Red Sea. And what part of the Red Sea? I'll be flying into Egypt? Is Egypt like the best choice, or am I going to be traveling around? You know, just getting a feel for why I'm going there? No? You're not going to tell me? Great. Great. I should know you by now that you'll never tell me a straight answer. It's always, you'll find out, or I'll see you when you get here, or, you know, I'll meet you this contact. You know, you can't tell me more details. Hello? I think it cut out there for a second. Well, I shall make sure I catch that plane. And I guess I'll see you there. I love how the first time we went on an expedition, I was all dressed up in most of the clips, and now you just get me. You get comfy me. And isn't that a treat? We rolled our little dice for this time through, and first up I rolled a 3, which is the same as the first expedition. If you want to see how that went, go click on that video. But then I rolled again, and we got a 4, which means we are headed to the Red Sea. The prompt for this one is a book that lays flat, and I, in my TBR, chose this one. An old book called From Billabong to London, and it is by Mary Grant Bruce. This is a historical Australian fiction. Technically, it was written at the same time it's set, but it is now historical. This series is about Nora, who is called the Little Bushmaid. So she lives on a station with her father, who owns it, her older brother Jim, but along the way we have Jim's like a school buddy Wally. He's usually around. There's also another school friend, and then Nora has a few as well. But it's really about rural Australian life, and in this one we're going from their station of Billabong on the ship to London. And this is actually has a bit of adventure, a little mystery, a little bit of intrigue. It's not just a travel vlog. Yeah, there's some bad guys in it they have to catch. So I think it's perfect for this Journey Through the Bible readathon. Or just a journey readathon. It's perfect for it. It's got a lot of like Australian isms, or like Australian language. So I think we have roughly 90 pages on Billabong, and then we go off on our trip to London, and at the end of course we arrive. So they have their months at sea and the mystery to do. By now my video about my favourite male characters would have come out, and one of them was Walter Meadows, or Wally, and he is one of the characters in this. So I'm super excited to read this. I believe it's the, oh no, if my memory serves me well, it is the 4th book in the series. And I just love, yeah, the old Australian culture. And it is family, so it's not really found family, but found family dynamics. Beautiful. So it is 300 and something. 320 pages long. I'm just going to read. That's what you do with a book, Hannah. Because I'm not going to release these vlogs until November, I can take all the time I'll need. But also, I'm gonna have fun with this book. I'm so happy I chose it. It was my first choice. If I was going to get one, I did want this to be it. Then I kind of wanted to go to the Jordan River next, which would have been By His Grace and Favour by Christina Dudley. But we got a 4, which means From Billabong to London. I just love holding old books, reading old books. You have to be careful with them, obviously. They've got a certain feel. And look, we've already read 9 pages. How cool is that? We're starting on page 9. If you came to the homestead of Billabong by the front entrance, you approached a great double gate of wrought iron, which opened stiffly with protesting creaks, and creaked almost as much at being closed.
Then you found yourself in a long winding avenue, lined with tall pine trees, beyond which you caught glimpses, between the trunks, of a kind of wilderness garden, where climbing roses and flowering shrubs and gum trees and bush plants and a host of friendly, pleasant common flowers grew all together in a very delightful fashion.
Okay, I'm 30 pages in. And I've been bawling my little eyes out. I just love family. I do. How dare they? How dare they make me cry? The first chapter made me smile. The second makes me bubbles. It's set during the beginning of World War One, and so I knew I would cry because war and men going off to war is just freaking sad, and so now I have to read about it. Even though I'm promised adventure and traveling, but I'm gonna be sad in the process. I'll check in at the 25% mark and let you know how much I cried. I have an update from Billabong to London. So we are, well, we're actually 28% through. I had to get to the end of the chapter. Let's see, what is happening currently? Well, our boys are going off to war. But rather than head off from Australia, they're going to go to England because Nora's father, Mr. Linton, he has business in England. So they're going to go to England, and then the boys are going to enlist in England together because Wally is younger than Jim. So Jim is almost 19 or at least 18, but our Wally is only 17. But in England, 16, 15, 16-year-olds are able to enlist. So they're going to go there and enlist together, which made me cry when they were talking about that because, he's talking about their mom or, his wife, their mom, and it's just, he calls her, his little wife, and it's just really cute and sad. Anyway, so they've decided to go on a ship across to England, but while they're sorting that, they still have business in Billabong to do. So they've been pulling out a calf and talking about this bloke and these snakes, and it's just storytelling. So as they do different things, they tell these tales or joke around. Very old Australian storytelling. But I believe the next chapter we are leaving. So we'll see what adventures they get up to on the ship. Going to England. Woo! We are 50% into the book. Some intrigue is happening. So we are now on the ship. We are on the Perseus. And we're keeping an eye out for the German boats because we're on the way to England. But we're trying to avoid getting detected by German boats, of course. Because the boat they are on is fairly wealthy. It's got a lot of supplies for the war effort in England. So it would be a really good snag for the enemy to get the ship. And there may be someone on board sending off Morse code messages with light. And of course, the rule is you are meant to have no light at night. Because, of course, on the sea, an enemy ship could spot you from ages away. But for now, we are on the trail of someone. And our little crew, they've been good beans. They've reported it. But nothing is yet to come to light. So that's where we're up to. Really interesting that they've got the different views of the war and just the culture of war and what everyone wanting to go and fight for the cause, but also all those who have people already at the front. So we've got a bit going on, but our little crew are on it. So we'll see how it goes. But I don't think this part of the plot is going to go on for very long. I feel like they're going to jump on it pretty quick. So we'll see what the rest of the book is about once we solve this little mystery. I don't know what we'll find, so we'll see. But yep, we're halfway through. We are 75% into the book. We did have a rocky patch there for a bit.
this is written, well, back in the day, and it is definitely a product of the time. Now, I am reading, obviously, a very early edition of it. It's the hardcover, like, early edition, whereas I believe there are some, like, more revised versions, so I don't know what kind of content is included or, like, removed from the later editions. So, due to a product of the time, it is rather racist when they get to South Africa. I think it's important, especially with history, that we don't dampen what it was like. Obviously, if someone reads this and agrees with the statements, well, that's a little bit questionable. Unfortunately, it is how people thought back then, and sort of was the accepted or popular belief. I think in part it's acknowledging history and accepting history that makes us not repeat the same things. If you just disregard history and what did happen, then you have no room for growth or reflection about, what was wrong about that situation. It's a little blackbird making his business. Oi! Oi, master. But they did get wrapped up in another adventure, and there were some better insights into the culture. So now we are on to the last quarter. 84 pages to go. We are back on the ship now and headed off. We're getting an escort from a military ship as well. So they say they can be more at ease, and I'm like, I don't know about that, but we shall see. We shall see. Well, I finished the book, cried like a baby. I think with fantasy books, right? If something happens, you're like, it's okay, it's fictional. But when historical fictions are based in times that actually happened, even though these stories and characters never existed, you know that the stuff they experienced, like, it was real. Like World War One with this one, it happened. All the different things, like the ships and the soldiers and the wounded and the women back home and all the wives sending their blokes off, and I'm just like, wow, that happened. And I think nowadays a lot of people just forget, or they like to be like, oh yeah, but that's the past, they just did things wrong, we're so much more enlightened. But unfortunately, history is bound to repeat itself. We're bound to make the same mistakes, just in a different font. And so the reality is that things like this are still happening, can happen, probably will happen. And there are still things to be learned from what people experienced. So when people dismiss history or these events as just, oh yeah, but that's history and we're so much more enlightened, I fear for the good that can be taken from it, and I guess the companionship and ethics and just kindness. Now we're too busy fighting amongst ourselves. I think it's just a really stark reminder or observation that when you're reading historical fiction, this isn't all fiction. It's based off things that actually happened and people actually experienced and went through. And so I think that hits me more emotionally than, say, a fictional world, even though half of fantasy fiction is inspired by reality. So while there's still elements, it doesn't quite hit as hard as these wars actually happened. People were killed. So it made me sad. And there are definitely things that you're like, oof. But it also highlights, sort of the other relationships or mind frames and thoughts of people entering into this war when they didn't know when it would end. They didn't know if people would come back. If one moment you could be fine and the next moment your ship is under siege. So I definitely had some down points, but it was also hard-hitting Australian history in form of fiction, going through it with our characters. There's definitely certain things to be learnt or observed through these books. So now we get to go find out what treasure we're seeking in the Red Sea. I think I'm ready for another read. Hopefully it's nothing too heavy, because after this I need something less heavy, but we shall see. I'll probably get poetry or something. So we rolled a 2, which is the Rod of Moses. And the prompt that goes with that one is a physical book. And we have City of Serpents by Christina Bear, which is book 4 in the Secrets of Ormdale series. In this series we are following Edith, whose father inherits this abbey, and so he and the family go there to sort out things, but she has some cousins there that they decide to look after and sort of give them some of the reign of the property, because the father is a clergy and he doesn't actually care if the girls take it instead of him. But Edith discovers that this abbey has some secrets, and those secrets may involve dragons. They also have these neighbours at Drake Hall, which are distant relatives of theirs, and some stuff might be going on there as well. This is a historical fantasy, and it has some like Christian inspiration, but I wouldn't say they're necessarily full like Christian books, but there's certainly some different like messages, and because her father is a clergy, obviously that comes into it as well. In this one, she went on a trip, something bad may have happened, and now she has to make a antidote for dragon poison in order to undo some of the mistakes that may have been made. So I believe in this one they're trying to track down like this scientist. I can't really give more away without giving away the whole series that has certain like plot points, so I think we're gonna go with that. Obviously she has a dragon. It's cute. Can't remember what she names him. Fangs or Forks? Forks maybe. Francis, that's right. Also I believe that blackbird's back. Also Francis is a bird. No, he's a dragon. So this book has 300 pages. The spacing is good, and it's 300 pages. So I feel like this shouldn't take me too long to read. Me and Mum are going out tomorrow because the power is going off here, so we're out on adventures. I will be waiting on Mum for a couple of her jobbies, and then we're just gonna go relax somewhere, sit by the water, like the river, do some stuff, eat some good food. So I'll take you along, and I will also take this book along, and we will read it while we're gone. Should be a nice cozy read. A lot at stake though, so I don't know whether it's really cozy, but hopefully it's less tears and less trauma. No, trauma is the wrong word. Less reality. Even though it is still set in England in this something, I don't know what era. This was gifted to me by my brother. Have less fun with the snakes, he says. And I'm like, wow. Serpents. He right. Anyway, so we're gonna get this one. I will stop prattling on. Yeah, see you tomorrow when we go adventuring. That shocked even me. We're outside the house. We're adventuring. Well, not yet. Mum has a few jobs to do, but then I have my book here and we're going to go adventuring. I think I remember everything that happened, so I'll probably just flick through where I previously read up to. I keep seeing movement and I'm like, who's there? I have a fear of like somebody approaching the car and saying, what are you doing here? Even though they have no reason to ask that, but I just have that fear. Social anxiety. So we have our book. It's gonna be fun. I had some breakfast. I had like a breakfast wrap with like sausage, hash brown, egg, bacon, barbecue sauce. I think that's it. It was delicious. It was just what I needed. And so now I'm waiting. Somebody's playing doof doof music. You probably can't even hear it, but it's Bobby. Also, should I put this in here? Sure, why not? This book has that velvet finish, and I love the feel of the velvet finish. And originally I was thinking of putting my own books with the velvet finish. However, the unfortunate case of the velvet finish is they show up smudges and fingerprints so quickly. And I can't stand it. If I was never going to touch the books, or I always wore like gloves, I would love the velvet finish. However, since I want to be like holding the book and I want people to actually hold and read my book, unfortunately I don't think I'm going to do it. Sorry, I've been also having like heart flutters and it just makes me like, oh. So that's probably something I should go to the doctor about. Don't look at me. I think she's been through here several times looking for a car park and absolutely no car parks to be had.
So I'm gonna sit here while Mum's off doing her little jobbies and catch up where I was up to and whatever read. And yeah, I think I'm a little bit sunburned, so I need to put on some sunscreen before I'm out in the sun today. So we're just gonna catch up now and try to avoid eye contact with everyone, which is a difficult task. I'm not a perfect character. Alright, we are 25% through City of Serpents. First note I have is that Frances is a girl, and I always picture Frances, her dragon, as a boy. And I don't know whether that's, I don't know, sexist of me or whatever, but I don't know. Frances is a boy. I do think she may have thought Frances was a boy at first too, then discovered that she was a girl. But I don't remember clearly. But anyway, so now whenever they say she for the dragon, I'm like, wait a second. Also, our girl Edith is not making smart decisions. Otherwise, I don't really have any great thoughts. You think she'd learn by now to listen to the people around her, but it's like she's like, well, they just said this, so I'm going to do exactly not that. No matter who it is telling her, and no matter how much she trusts them, any trust goes out the window. And it's aggravating me, because it always gets her, or rather, people around her, in trouble. Also, we had a run-in with someone who's being very mysterious. Fortunately, it does read rather fast, and the spacing is nice and spacious. So I'll let you know when I get to the 50% mark whether anything goes downhill or improves. I have a comment to make. So our girl is meeting with this like mad scientist, well, I think he's just like a chemist or something, but he's mad, okay? And so she's at a party, and she just goes up, runs after him as he's on his way out, calling out his name, and then is like, hi, I'm blah de blah. So she introduces herself, which I feel is kind of frowned upon in society at this time. And then she's on the street the next day or so, and her dragon gets away from her and is picked up by a kindly gentleman who is like, oh, here you go. And then she's like, oh my goodness, I do not want to be acquainted with someone on the street. I do not want to introduce myself, so I'm going to run away from him. And I'm like, girl, you chased after a man to get an introduction at a party. That is just no. And then the moment this bloke who seems to maybe know something, or at least is really kind, you can't even say a nice word and say, you know, thank you, sir, nicely and with timing. Instead, she's like, oh, I gotta get away from him. I'm like, what? Anyway, so she just missed an opportunity because she wouldn't meet this. Anyway, like maybe it was because she didn't know him, but at the same time, technically she wasn't acquainted with this doctor bloke either. So the double standards is really getting to me. This girl will run towards trouble and away from help if she can help it. She has a choice. She will go towards danger and away from the help she gets. Like, girl, breathe for a second, please. I am 50% through City of Serpents, and our main character is just so foolish, and I hate it. Also, for our main character who says she's not political, there is so much politics in these books. I get that politics is just the way that the country is run, and there are correct and incorrect ways of doing that, but at the same time, it isn't my favourite reading material. Let's say, I'd like to escape that. I like to read to escape the real world, if at all possible. And this is bringing me straight back to it.
maybe it's my fault for reading about historical novels where they seem to have some sort of fixation on war periods. They love them. They love it. Anyway, so I'm 50% through. And yeah, our main character, Edith, is foolish. But I shall continue. We are 75% through. What's happening? A lot of stuff is happening. I'm feeling really sorry for Simon, who was in the first however many 3 books. Because he's just not there. He's mentioned, but he just doesn't appear. You know, stuff is happening. Relationships are being had. Every time a new man comes on the scene, he's like chemistry-wise, and you're like, oh my goodness. At this point, I'm okay with it. It is a fast read. She makes a lot of decisions or thoughts that I personally am like, what are you on, girl? We only have so many pages left for it all to go downhill. Because it is there's only one more book after this one, which I think is like double the size of this one. But it is the finale. So it's wrapped up. So I feel like this one's going to be just a setup for the wrap-up in the next book. And I feel like a lot has to happen romance-wise. I don't believe it's sold as a romance. I believe it's just a fantasy. But I just don't know. Not sure I'm feeling the romance section of it. I mean, obviously there is like literally none in this one, because we're focusing on adventure and finding an antidote and suffragettes and war politics. So, of London society. Not that it matters for this book. Obviously this is not a focus of that book, but I don't know. I'm feeling like she has more chemistry with this random other bloke than our main Simon, because I feel like currently her thing towards Simon is like this feeling of guilt and pressure to go find him and say sorry, rather than any feelings or like thinking about him in a way that's love. But who knows, might be proven wrong. Doesn't matter, it's not in this book. So let's get this adventure done with the final 70 pages. And I will let you know my final thoughts, probably in the morning, because I'm so tired. I have finished City of Serpents by Christina Bear, which is book 4 in the Secrets of Ormdale series. I feel like this is a crossover book between number 3 and the last book in the series. I mean, stuff did happen, but I feel like the point we started at is very much nearly the point we ended at. Nothing was really super gained. A little bit, but it does feel like, okay, now we'll redo this whole process. There was a lot of stuff about the suffragettes, and then like war prep and the ethics of the scientific community during that time, like experimenting and that sort of thing for weapons, and then how to counter those weapons, etc, etc. It was interesting. It certainly wasn't my favourite, because I was annoyed with Edith through the first, I guess it was the 50%. She was just a bit foolish in her actions and seemed to be making mistakes that she should have already learned from in the previous 3 books. But we're all ready for book 5, which is the final book in the series, so it was good. It is Christian as well. I think in the beginning I was tossing up whether it was a Christian book. I would class it as a Christian book because there are Bible verses and she thinks about God and stuff. So I would say yes, it is. I mean, other Christian books classed as Christians have had less faith content, so sorry, there you go. It did feel a bit fillerish, but it was still okay. I did enjoy myself better in the second half. There we go, we have that one done for the challenge. So I met up with the pilot, and he said he'll organize a flight for tomorrow morning, so we should be able to make it to the Red Sea, do a little tour, he said, so but yeah, so we got that all down pat, very business like. So what have you been up to? Found any more leads for us? Oh, this? Yeah. It was just, you know, a souvenir. The pilot had him on the... No, just a bear. Just a bear. Anyway, so exciting stuff. Let's Let's go search. Of course, very serious.
We have moved on to who we're going to meet on this expedition, and we did roll a 2, which is pilot. And the prompt for this one is a mode of transport on the cover. And I chose Nancy Drew, The Bungalow Mystery, because there's a car on it. This is the 3rd book in the Nancy Drew Mystery Stories series by Carolyn Keene. And I believe we're following Nancy Drew as she stumbles across another mystery. I'll be honest, I have no clue. It's got no blurb on the back. Nancy reached the shack without mishap and paused in front of it. A sixth sense seemed to tell her there was someone inside who needed help. What we're going to do is I'm going to start the book, read a bit, and then I will check in and tell you what it's about. I'm diving into it blind. It's 180 pages, which means it should be a really quick read. As I say, it's like a middle grade book. It's even illustrated. So that's pretty cool. And then, yeah. So let us continue on with our pilot. It's more like a fast car, but you get the idea. I am 25% through. Wow, almost. 44 pages in. Okay, so what is it about? Well, the girls, i.e. Nancy and her friend Helen, are on a boat at the start of the book, and they get caught in a storm, and a girl named Laura comes along and saves them from the water. And they hide out in this bungalow. As is the way with these girls, Nancy befriends Laura very quickly. Laura is recently orphaned, and the guardians she's been assigned to have told her to come to this place to meet up. But the people that come to meet her, her guardians, they aren't very nice. They seem to have a bit of sus stuff going on, and they say that Laura is penniless, but they'll take her in and look after her, even though Nancy feels like she should be rich, really, by every other sign that she's seen. Anyway, so there's a lot of suspicious things going on with the guardians, and so Nancy is just starting to look into it. It seems that Mr. Joe is investigating an embezzlement case currently. I think it's pretty clear what's happening here. I don't think there's a huge mystery on what could possibly be going on here, but it's quick and it's fun. So that's the gist of what is happening. So I will check in at the 50% mark, and we will see what shenanigans Nancy has been getting up to in the meantime. We are 50% through, and I'm pretty sure I'm on top of the mystery. I know what's happening. It is very dramatic. Like, things will happen and somebody will burst into tears and, like, throw themselves upon the bed. It's so dramatic. But, it's kind of funny. A lot is happening, and honestly, I think we're gonna be wrapping it up shortly, I think. It's just funny how the older writing is so dramatic, and it's so simple, yet you get some details that are very for the time that probably people nowadays are less likely to be familiar with on the day-to-day, but it's all good and fun. As I say, nothing too brain-melding. Also, it's a lovely day. Lovely. So I'm just sitting outside, enjoying the outside world. I think the warmth does make me a little bit tired, though. So I might need a nap a little later, but for now, we're just having a chill little reading session. Alright, we're up to the last quarter of the book. I believe the last quarter will be like the resolution of the mystery, the wrap up. It was pretty easy for me to tell who it was, what was going on, but they haven't discovered everything yet. I'm just sort of going along for the ride, really. Otherwise, I don't really have much to say, so we're just gonna finish it up, and I'll let you know my end thoughts. Okay, we have completed Nancy Drew, The Bungalow Mystery by Carolyn Keene. As a middle grade mystery, it was pretty good. As I say, no big twists or like mysterious happenings happening really. But it was an adventure. It was an adventure. So I finished meeting with the pilot, and now, dun dun dun, it's locked. No, it's a trap. Oh no! Moron number 1. The sunburn really came in from the other day, eh? Oops. So we have rolled our dice and we rolled a 1, which means we fell into the water trap. Ooh. Woo! And that means we are reading a book with water on the cover, and my choice was Away Through the Sea. And this is a historical Christian fiction, and it is by Robert Elmer. I don't know what the theme with this expedition and war novels is, but we had the first one from Billabong to London, and it was set in the beginning of the First World War. Then we had City of Serpents, which mentioned war, and now we have a World War II novel. So in this one, we are following Peter and his twin sister Elise, and they are living in Denmark, and they have a Jewish friend, Henrik. And so I believe they are fleeing from Denmark across the sea or whatever it is. Sea. So they're trying to flee to Sweden. I don't know what kind of grade it's meant to be. Juvenile fictions 8 to 13. So I believe that's middle grade. This is book 1 of the, what are they called? Oh, it's right up the top, Hannah. The Young Underground series. There are 8 books in this series, but this is book 1. So we're starting another series. It is published by Bethany House Publishers. 1994. Before I was even born. So that is our next read. I honestly don't know why I mean, I put these books on the thing. I just didn't think I would get all the war novels, but here we have it. Alright, we are 25% into Away Through the Sea. So currently the kids have been racing pigeons, homing pigeons, seeing whose pigeon gets back to the boathouse quicker. And then they've been making little notices about the German presence in Denmark and the restrictions and different things that have come upon them in the last, 4 years or something. And then the uncle. Yeah, we've just met an uncle who may be up to something. I think it's pretty clear as a adult reader what the uncle is up to. But, I mean, this is a middle grade book. I think the dialogue is rather quick and believable. Some of the tags do state the obvious, but otherwise, yeah, pretty quick moving so far. So, here we have the first update for you. Okay, so I am halfway through Away Through the Sea by Robert Elmer. What's been happening? We've just finished chapter 8, and Peter has been asking his uncle about his faith, about him becoming a Christian. I love how Uncle Morton just sort of states why he converted and why he became a Christian, and how even though he went to church every now and then, and etc., that doesn't make you a Christian. I think that's nice to see in a middle grade book. We've also been having a few, fishing trips and, things to do with the Germans passing by and just keeping an eye on things, as well as the resistance, a little few mentions of the resistance in here. I have been reading a bit slower just because I think I burnt out my reading prowess, and I have been reading my buddy Read and stuff over the weekend. Me and my friend discussed Heir of Fire, and we have very different opinions on Selena and Rowan, but it's amusing to me. I like having different opinions because we are complete opposites. Some people are like, oh, I want people to agree with me. I'm like, it's kind of funny if they're respectfully not on the same page, as long as it's amusing. If it gets too serious, then ugh. But so I could finish this book today. I'm also waiting on some notebooks to do writing stuff, which you'll see in the writing nook. Technically, I have a morning until my package arrives to just read, and it is a quick read once I just sit down and read it. It's an overcast day, so it's not warm, but it's not cold either. So I'm just gonna enjoy the outdoors and the birds and the allergies. No, I try and avoid the allergies. I've had my medicine, but oh, give me a rain. None of the birds ever come close enough for me to film, but believe me, they're cute and they're very colourful. So, all right, to reading we go. All right, here we are, 80% into the book. Just a little way to go. And we're into the action now. It's stressing me out. It's giving me anxiety. War things do tend to give me anxiety, as I've said earlier. It's a little too close to home. It's a little too real, because even though the stories are fictional, the wars and the events, the themes that are discussed and looked on, were real and are real. And and so even though I know this works out okay, I know that it didn't work out okay for a lot of the Jews fleeing
We did see a few of the Jewish traditions and things like that, so that was interesting. And now we have that much to go. And since it's a series, I don't know, I can't remember if it ends on a cliffhanger. So I guess we'll find out. I have finished A Way Through the Sea, and I bawled my little eyes out for a middle grade book. It really hits hard. It does have a good ending. It does. It was just sad as well. And I love the little epilogue here. The rescues of the Jews was a bright spot in the dark year of 1943. Out of about 7,000 Danish Jews, only a few hundred were captured. So that's pretty cool. You know, you hear the stories about, you know, neighbors turning on neighbors and selling their neighbors in and tipping them off. But the Danish people actually went and, worked together with their Jewish friends and neighbors to let them escape over a few days. And that's really cool. It's a very good little book. As I say, very quick. It is middle grade, but still, for an older reader, it still is an intriguing, fun read. So I don't know what the next one is about, but I suppose we'll find out when I get to it, whenever I read the next in the series. I don't think there was anything wrong with it, to be honest, so I guess it's a 5-star. Maybe bore my eyes out. Very anxiety-inducing, but good. So now we have to decide what we're choosing to escape. I believe I said in my first expedition, the little process I made for which trap I believed went with which... I believe I went through my reasoning in the first expedition video. But I do believe for the rolling boulder, I feel like the trapdoor is the right answer for escaping. For the net trap, I'm pretty sure it's the knife to escape it, which only leaves the clothing for the water pit. So I think I'm going to say that it's the clothing to escape from the water pit. So therefore, the prompt is a person on the cover. And if you saw my TBR, you know the book we have for this one is... I have to go grab it. Skip Beat, volumes 19 to 21. There's our person on the cover. Our main character, Kyoko. This series follows Kyoko, who is abandoned and, discovers the betrayal of a childhood friend who she moved to Tokyo for. And since her now ex-friend was in the showbiz, she decides to join the showbiz to take her revenge and make him regret it. However, she can't sing for the life of her, so she decides to join as an actress. However, in the company she ends up joining, there is Ren, who isn't happy about her joining the business for revenge because he is quite... And so Kyoko sets up to also defeat him, but not really. It's more a friendship / mentorship / rekindling of an old connection that may have been there a long time ago. Ooh. And we realize that Kyoko actually loves acting. She's a natural actress. She really becomes the character that she's playing, and it soon becomes apparent that she's not just in it for revenge anymore. At the moment, she is meeting with... spoilers, so I won't divulge the information. But just know that she's taken on a role. She played it very well, but it felt a little familiar to Ren, and she was like, oh, and the person she was working for was also like, oh. So we'll see what happens in this one. It's just a nice, jolly, fun time, and it is 3 volumes, so technically it's 3 books. Finally, after all the emotional books, I mean, Nancy Drew was goofy and fun. It was nothing too stressful. But the rest have all been war and stress zones, so I'm very happy that we get to finish up on some joy. I will check in. I don't know whether I'll just check in after each volume, or probably will. I am 34% into Skip Beat. We have completed volume 19. Impeccable. Oh, I love it so much. So Kyoko was working for an American actor, Ku, and Ku is like, you can be my child, you can. And so cute. It did make me almost tear up though with Ren's section. I love that we're getting deeper into the Ren lore and the backstory and how he's feeling. He's not just this picture perfect acting man. He's got some backstory, and I mean, we knew he wasn't just, this super perfect acting man, because Kyoko manages to knock down some of his perfection. But it was so cute. So now we get to go on to a new arc, I think it is, but I have no clue what we're going to dive into, so I guess we'll discover that with this next volume. Volume 20. Well, that was freaking adorable. Didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't that. And it was so cute. So Maria, the president's granddaughter, she hates Christmas.
at her birthday because of past events. And so now, so freaking adorable. Kyo was like, let's have a thank you party. The found family in this is so impeccable. My little heart is full. I just needed that cuteness after all the lore in this video. Just some cute, fluffy adorableness. And Moko, her best friend, who secretly hates her. No, she doesn't. Her best friend, Moko, who hates dramatics. She is so sweet. So annoyed by so much of the world, but then she's like, you know what? Kyoko deserves all my love. And now we get on to Volume 21, which again, I have no clue what we're going to do. I assume we're going to jump into her new role as a bully. Whoops. Who she currently hates, so she's not going to get into the role well if she hates her own character. Our final section for this book and for this video. Kind of sad. I did almost cry in this chapter though. It might just be my emotional levels at the moment, but also it is tear-worthy. This may not make sense to anyone who hasn't watched my favourite male characters video, but I found Bo in a suit. See? Look, he's all dolled up in his suit. Isn't he cute? He's got his little slick back hairstyle. So cute. I've completed Skip Beat Volume 21. This was a little bit harder to read because our girl is finally starting her next arc where she must play a bully and is getting typecast. The director is asking her to not play Mio, but when it gets to the bullying scenes, he just wants Mio. He's like, no, just play the role as Mio. And I think that's bad directing on his behalf, to be honest. And so now we have a rival / mean girl who's going to try and sabotage. But I think Kyoko's going to win across the director, even though I despise the man. But Kyoko's gone to Ren for help. So that's always a good start to go to Ren for help. She's already got the idea in mind. She just needs a little guidance. And that's when Ren comes in. She comes up with most of the plans, but Ren helps out. And that's what I like to see. But that is the end of our person on the cover, i.e. clothing, i.e. the escape that I've chosen from the water trap. So now we have to wait and see if I did indeed escape from the water trap. Well, I survived. I didn't find the rod. No, in fact, I think it's best, left as it is, and, you know, God can do tons of miracles without it, so I think I'm going to just leave this mission as a drowned rat experience. But hey, we got out of it alive again, so what more can you hope for? It's all in a day's adventure. I'm gonna go and, I don't know, have a hot chocolate and maybe 3 marshmallows and then get the pilot to drop me home. Over and out. I'll see you at home. And that is a wrap on our Journey Through the Bible expedition number 2. So clothing was the correct escape method. I'm not sure how. Katie said something about the way it's meant to work. I'm still oblivious. I just considered it a prevention against hypothermia after falling into the water. So, but I had so much fun with these videos. So big thanks to Katie over at Paperbacks and Ponytails for doing this readathon. I know I did it slightly different, but I think I still sat within the theme of the challenge and I had so much fun. I admit my skits were fun to think of. This one slightly less odious, but getting drenched like a wet rat. Beautiful, wonderful end to this exchange. I think somehow reading challenges and readathons really suit me because I get to be creative and add a little charm to them. So those have been our 5 books. I hope you really enjoyed. I may be doing things like this in the future if people find it amusing. Maybe my adventuring self will have more scenes and the Secret Keeper send me on more adventures, we'll see. For now, that is a wrap, and I shall see you all in the next video. Until then, peace!
226